Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
And there you go. We are back. We're live. It's another brand new live edition of Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. Happy Tuesday morning. 29 degrees as you make your way into work, into school, wherever you may be headed. Safe travels. Safe travels on this Tuesday morning. And just like last week, we were counting down towards the 88th edition of the Iron Bowl. This week, we start counting you down to the final SEC championship game with divisions. Next year, and we will talk next year as well because Alabama's schedule for 2024, the dates have been released for all but 3 of their conference games. So we will go over next year here in a little bit. But this year, we're focusing on the SEC championship game, 15th SEC championship game appearance for Alabama. Alabama, by the way, 10-4 all-time in the SEC championship game, 8-1 under Nick Saban. Georgia will be heading to Atlanta. This is their 11th SEC championship game appearance. The Bulldogs 4-6 all-time in SEC championship games. The 6th SEC championship game for Kirby Smart as Georgia head coach. And the Bulldogs 2-3 under Kirby Smart in the SEC championship game. Yesterday, Alabama head coach Nick Saban.
And we're obviously playing, one of the best teams in college football, if not the best team in college football. Kirby's done a fantastic job there. I mean, I don't think people realize, how hard it is to win 29 games in a row, or even be 12-0 in a season. So they got really good players. They're really well coached. They're one of the most prolific offensive teams in the country in terms of yards, points, ability to run, ability to pass. They've got good players at every position. Defensively, they're the #1 team in the SEC. Got good players, well coached, do a really, really good job. And they also do a great job on special teams. So they've got good specialists, and this is a team that doesn't have a whole lot of weaknesses. That's why they are who they are and what they are. And it's going to be really important for us to do, a great job of executing and do what we do the best that we can do it.
That's Alabama head coach Nick Saban yesterday. You can watch the entire Nick Saban press conference. Head over to our YouTube page, WZZN TV. We have it there. He did allude to the fact that Georgia has won 29 more in a row, 2000 to 2022, or 2002, I should say. Clemson's in that list. Florida State, Miami, they're all in the list. Having won, let's see here, several in a row. I needed to find that number there. Anyway. Let me find that there. Okay, 29 in a row. Clemson, Florida State, and Miami have both chipped in with 29 in a row. Interesting, though, and ESPN did an article about Georgia's 29-game win streak because earlier this season, Kirby Smart brought in Sylvester Croom, the former Alabama assistant coach, Mississippi State head coach, to come talk to the Bulldogs because when he was on the staff at Alabama with Bear Bryant, Alabama had won 28 games in a row from 1978 to 1980, and he brought in Sylvester Croom to talk about the win streak and everything and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, in other words, another Alabama guy. Shocker. Because that's where it all comes back to. Can't do it without the Tide.
And then in this article, it went back and it started talking about how Alabama had won 27 straight SEC games, that Major Ogilvy and Randy Scott had never lost an SEC game until their 28-game streak was ended by Mississippi State in 1980.
Yeah,
6-3.
It was a 6-3 game. Alabama fumbled late. Looked like they were driving to win it, and it was a heartbreaking loss there. But certainly, it's very hard and very difficult. Gene Stallings had a run where he won about 28. He won 27, but went 28 without losing. It was. I guess you wouldn't say it's a 28-game win streak completely. It was a 28-game streak without a loss because they had a tie in there to the vomit. That David Palmer ran in a 2-point conversion. Too bad there wasn't overtime because Alabama would have beat the hell out of Tennessee by that time because Tennessee was reeling in Legion Field. But they had that tie. But I was actually at the game they lost.
Yeah.
Jay Barker got injured. Stallings should have probably gone to David Palmer right away at quarterback against LSU. He decided to go to Brian Bergdorf. It was a disaster. They put Palmer in the game. He sparked them, and they ended up losing 17-13. But if I still believe to this day, if he had just said, "Hey, Deuce, go in there, take over at quarterback," and he would have started improvising, Alabama would have beat LSU. But ifs and buts, candy and nuts, they weren't able to do it. But yeah, it's very, very difficult to continue to win at that clip. And what Georgia's done is fascinating, and it's just been a tribute to their program. I know they lost a lot of guys. I know their schedule on the front end this year wasn't as difficult, but the bottom line is they've taken care of business, and
they have.
They've had to play through injuries to McConkey and of course Brock Bowers, and they've their first year starter at QB Beck has played outstanding. And they replaced their offensive coordinator with an old face that they were familiar with, but still, I mean. They've done a remarkable job.
So during Georgia's 29-game win streak, defensively, they have allowed 0 to 9 points 8 times, 10 to 19 points 10 times, 20 to 29 points 9 times, and only twice they have allowed more than 30 points. So we'll see what Alabama is able to do offensively Saturday against Alabama. Do you think they...
You mean against Georgia?
I mean, yeah. Against Georgia, late night, sorry. Does Alabama find a way to score more than 20 or more than 30 against Georgia?
They've got to score in the high 20s at least. Low 20s is not going to cut it. Not against Georgia. Georgia's too good on offense. They got too good a receiving core. They will have Brock Bowers and McConkey back. At least I'm counting on that happening. They've got a quarterback who's thrown for well over 3,000 yards, so he's not a first-year starter anymore to me. He's very well entrenched into being the dude, and they've got a really good offensive line. This is not 2011. You're not going to hold people to 10 points, 13 points, 14 points, whatnot. You're going to have to do your job and score points, and Alabama's going to have to. I mean, there's no question in my mind. I mean, they had to score 27 to beat Auburn, and Auburn doesn't have nearly the talent that Georgia does. So you're going to have to score points. This is not going to be Iowa.
Yeah. Okay,
and
Georgia,
Nebraska.
During the 29-game win streak, Georgia has not trailed in 16 games during the streak. Of the 13 comeback wins, the Dogs have trailed in the second half only 6 times. So just some numbers inside the numbers when you're looking at Georgia's 29-game win streak. All right, let's go out to the phone lines, 256-576-4977. LC is with us out of the gates. Good morning, LC.
Morning.
Morning, guys. Listen, I've got one point about the Iron Bowl, if you don't mind. I know we got an SEC championship game to talk about, and I'll drop it after this. But, from the point that the officials didn't catch the face mask against Alabama, it seemed like we had a large amount of calls and no calls that went against Alabama. And I understand that Mo, Larry, Curly, and the Three Stooges cast were the same ones that called the Tennessee-Alabama game. Can Greg Sankey them, fire them, to do something. They're not good enough to call Dexter versus Mars Hill. If you don't mind, I'd just like to hear what you guys think about it.
Well, I mean, the only problem is, Autry's crew, even after that Alabama-Tennessee game, I think they were in next week's big game. There's been a quote-unquote referee shortage. I don't know how that's affecting the college game because of how much money they make. But on the high school level, I know that's certainly been a big story. So I wouldn't expect the officials to be suspended. Now, I would be stunned if that crew does the SEC championship game this next week. I would think it'd be another crew, but again, I don't expect them to be suspended. They're probably done for the year unless they get a bowl game. I don't know, because there's a ton of bowl games. We'll see if they end up if they end up getting a bowl assignment.
I think there's 44 bowl games, I think is what it is,
and they always try to use officials from a different conference that are not officiating from a team from a certain league. So they might get a bowl game, but I would be stunned if they're in the SEC championship game. But at the same time, I think they'll be calling SEC games again next year. It's just my point that I made yesterday about that crew was I just felt like they didn't have control of the game. I think, just like by near the end of the ball game, there was almost a WWE fight and a brawl that started, and it was emotional. I mean, Auburn had poured a lot into it, and they were very frustrated with the way the game was about to end. But they allowed, a WWE fight to break out, and then didn't even throw a flag. They allowed basically Alabama's punter to be assaulted. But, there was karma that happened because the guy that assaulted him got his arm broke, got his forearm broken in the next melee he tried to start. So, again, Micah Riley, karma's a bitch. You know what I'm saying? And so that's how it worked out because I felt like he was in there trying to instigate a lot of stuff. And and should have just play hard, play through the whistle, but you're basically trying to start a fight. It's all you're doing down there at the end. And again, I just felt like but I blamed a lot of that on the officials because I just didn't feel like they never should have he should have been called for the burn-up deal, and then they weren't controlling everybody. It's almost like they were just like, okay, we know Auburn is frustrated, it's emotional, and it's an emotional game right now, and so they're letting them vent, but they should have been controlling the football game better than they were. And it all started, like you said, all the way back to when it should have been offsetting penalties. Alabama should have been called for so they're letting them vent. But they should have been called for the face mask, but then after Auburn was called for the block in the back. So I just felt like from the jump, when you found out that was the crew that did the Alabama-Tennessee game, those clowns, they're not very good at what they do. And I guess the SEC, there's probably a shortage of officials in college too, I guess, but some of their crews aren't very good.
They were intimidated, Drew. That crew was intimidated, and they did, like you said, they didn't take charge. One last thing, I know you got other things to get to. I hope Milroe will be decisive in his runs because our defensive line got pushed around against Auburn, and I'm concerned about them against Georgia, and I'm just hoping, Milroe's running could really cause problems for Georgia if he's decisive like he was in the second half against Tennessee. And if you have any comments on that, I'm going to hang up and listen, guys. Love your show.
Thank you, sir. He had 107 yards rushing against Auburn.
Travis Reier yesterday said, he doesn't even think Alabama is letting him run. Like they still think he's got limitations to what
he's
doing.
Talking about the offense as far as the checks. He's not checking. They're basically checking for him. There's not a lot of changing of stuff at the line of scrimmage. They're just letting him play football. The offense, like with Bryce Young, he was doing all the checks. He was changing plays. He was orchestrating everything. The coaching staff is orchestrating it for Milroe because he's still developing as a player. I thought he was much more decisive in the second half running the football. That's why he ended up with 107 yards rushing. If he wasn't trying to be a willing runner in the Iron Bowl, they would have lost in that second half. I mean, he made a lot of plays with his legs because Alabama, Jace McClellan had 66 yards. I believe he was the second leading rusher in the game. But if Milroe had not, I mean, he threw for 260 and ran for 107. So he was Alabama's biggest playmaker. Now, in the first half, did he miss on a couple of opportunities? Probably so. And then I know what people have stuck in their head, because late in the game he should have taken off, and he tried to wait and then back up past the line of scrimmage, and throw the football, which you can't do. And, of course, he did that in the first half and cost him a touchdown because he waited too long to take off. And then when he was in the midst of taking off, he saw a nigh black and he threw it when he probably should have just rolled out and thrown it to begin with.
Right.
So that was a couple of bad decisions that he made, and I think that's what people are kind of fixating on. But he used his legs quite a bit, and he's going to have to use them Saturday because certainly Georgia's first plan is going to be to stop the run. You have to against anybody. They're going to want to stop Alabama from running the ball. They're probably going to spy on Milroe, I would think. And so Alabama's going to have to take advantage of some opportunities. They probably need to hit some throws early, too, to back Georgia off. But, again, it's going to be interesting because mobile QBs have given Georgia some problems.
All right, let's stay out on the phone lines real fast. Let's, I tell you what, 7:16, let's get our break in. It's 7:16. Let's get our break in. When we come back, we will get to Mark from Spring Hill as well.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Traffic still rolling along in good shape this morning. I don't see any major snags for you. You be careful on that trip in. Still try to get out the door early. You might need the time before we wrap things up this morning. Someone dies from heart disease every 36 seconds. Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialist on Bob Wallace can help you keep your heart healthy. Captain Nick in the North Parkway Popeyes Skywatch Traffic Center.
Do you have discomfort in your legs? Varicose veins can affect not only how your legs look, but how they feel. Symptoms of varicose veins include pain, swelling, aching, heaviness, and fatigue. Dr. Tracy Lowry of Best Vein Care of Huntsville can diagnose and treat your varicose veins with the latest minimally invasive techniques. Diagnosis and treatment is covered by most insurances. Call 256-715-7151 to schedule your free screening. Go to bestveincarehuntsville.com.
At Mr. Sparky, we're America's on-time electrician. Flickering lights and hot switches can be annoying, but they can also signal a major problem, or worse, an electrical emergency. So play it safe and leave it to the experts at Mr. Sparky. Trust our team of professional, clean, and friendly electricians. We'll get it done right and get it done safely.
You don't have to put up with any malarkey. Call 888-8-SPARKY.
Independently owned and operated, licensed in the respective state or county.
Have a drink at the Open Bottle, a copious selection of wine, spirits, and craft beer from around the world. They've got a full bar, wine by the glass, craft cocktails, premium bourbon, 48 specialty beers on tap, and a smart staff with hustle. There's an expansive, comfortable patio with a brand new performance stage and live music every night from local artists like Lamont Landers, Rob Aldridge, and James Irvin. There's space for your next celebration or corporate event. The Open Bottle on Highway 72 near Slaughter Road intersection in Madison.
Mark and Henry McDaniel, attorneys at law, are proud alumni of Madison Academy, and Madison Academy is proud of them. They have served our community through their practice, through volunteerism and service on national, state, and local boards. They explain the complexity of critical court rulings on local media. Their successful practice has been built on integrity. Both are veterans of MA Athletics and proud sponsors of Mustang football. McDaniel and McDaniel, attorneys at law. No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by the lawyer.
Tom Abraham here for my friends at North Alabama Mortgage. Did you know that average home equity is at an all-time high? But so is average consumer debt. Even though rates are higher now, you can use your equity to pay off your high consumer debt, student loans, etc., then refi when the rates drop. Don't put off that new home purchase. When rates drop, prices will go up. Buy now and get the best price and then refi when the rates drop. This is the time to talk to the experts at North Alabama Mortgage. Visit NorthAlabamaMortgage.com for more information.
Hi, folks. Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford's Thanksgiving sales event. This is the time of year to give thanks for all the good things in our lives. And at Woody Anderson Ford, we give thanks that you're driving a Ford. Right now, we've got financing as low as 2.9% for up to 60 months on 2023 Explorer and Bronco Sport, plus $1,500 in bonus cash. Even our 2023 F-150 Crew Cab has $1,500 bonus cash and financing as low as 3.9%. And our lease rates are great too. 2023 Bronco Sport, $389 a month. 23 Explorer, $537 a month. And our 23 F-150 Crew Cab, just $449 a month, plus $3,000 in total trade assistance and red carpet lease cash. These are 36-month leases with $36.95 on Bronco Sport, $49.21 on Explorer, and $51.51 on F-150 due at signing. Zero security deposit, just tax tag title, and your good credit. These offers end November 30th. Call 539-9441 for complete details. It's Woody Anderson Ford's Thanksgiving sales event, and we hope to see you soon.
What's better than 2 end-zone sports bars?
3 end-zone sports bars.
And we have you covered with our original location on University across from Red Lobster.
In Jones Valley on Cecil Ashburn near Carl T. Jones.
And our newest location in the Midtown District on McMurtry Drive opposite the Target Plaza. All locations feature the NFL Sunday Ticket, Tuesday half-price burgers, and Wednesday $1 jumbo wings all day long. You're never far from the end zone. End Zone Sports Bar.
All right, welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond. The countdown is on towards Atlanta. The SEC Championship game, a game that you will be able to hear right here on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. Kickoff set for 3 o'clock inside Mercedes-Benz Stadium. By the way, it is the 73rd meeting between Alabama and Georgia. The 4th time the two will hook up in the SEC Championship game. Alabama 3-0 all-time against Georgia in SEC Championship games. Just a little nugget there for you. Mark from Spring Hill with us. Good morning, Mark.
Morning, Mark.
Hey, morning, guys. How y'all doing today?
Good.
Hey, I was just going to look at the strength of schedule of the top 8 teams and also the top tier top 25 wins. And when I looked at it, there's 133 teams in college football. Texas is number 1 in strength of schedule. Alabama 17th, and then Washington is 23rd, and then everyone else is like 53, 58, 63. That's Florida State. So everyone else is just absolutely garbage in terms of the strength of schedule. And I'm actually one more thing, and then I'll get to my question. Top tier wins. Alabama's the only program they got more wins in top 25 than any of the other teams. And so my question is this: when the committee sits down, and Alabama still has to take care of business, but what will that matter in terms of strength of schedule and top tier, top 25 wins when they get down to who's the best 4 in college football?
So, I mean, if you're looking this next to last playoff rankings will come out tonight. We'll know a little bit more. But here's the thing: if Georgia wins, Washington wins, Florida State wins, Michigan wins, there's no debate.
They're all 4 in.
They're all 4 in. I mean, there is no debate on who is.
Yeah.
I mean, and
there is no debate.
Is it the best 4 teams if they're undefeated?
If those are, yeah, because that would have meant Oregon had 2 losses, Alabama had 2 losses, then there's no debate. Debates in Texas would be out because they lost a game to Alabama, or excuse me, that they lost a game to Oklahoma. They beat Alabama, but they'd have a loss, and so even though they'd be a conference champion. So Texas is going to need some help too. But the debate starts if Florida State loses, if Washington loses, even if Georgia loses, because Georgia would still have won 29 out of 30 times. But I think in this year's situation, I don't think 2 teams from the same conference are going to get in, because I think Florida State's strength of schedule is not good enough unless they're undefeated. If it's 13-0, see that's the thing everybody's talking about. Alabama's not in the conversation unless they beat Georgia. If they beat Georgia, then they're in the conversation. And then I think they would have a very strong case over Georgia because of the head-to-head. And then they'd have they would definitely be ahead of FSU if FSU lost. If FSU won, there would be a debate because I do think that FSU is not as good as Alabama, even with Jordan Travis healthy. But when you're 13-0, it's tough to not put you in. And so that's where the debate would start. So Alabama, all I'm going to say is Alabama better hope that Florida State loses a ball game. They better hope Washington loses and that they beat Georgia. And if they do that, I think Alabama's in. If those things do not happen, if there's 3 or 4 undefeated teams, then Alabama is going to, have to sweat it out. And again, I just think overall, Florida, the ACC is weak. I mean, there is no doubt about it. That's what gives Florida State the biggest chance to advance. And one thing Florida State does have is even though they didn't win the SEC, they did beat LSU, who ended up being 9-3, which does help them a little bit in the pre-conference. Jaden Daniels is up for the Heisman Trophy. And so, again, I know LSU did not end up being a top 5-6 team like some thought in the preseason because of their defensive issues, but they were still 9-3, which I think helped Florida State. So it's just going to come down to this. Alabama needs a little help. They've got to help themselves by beating Georgia. But, again, we're having a moot point if there's 4 undefeated teams, which is what I said yesterday. That's what the committee wants because it makes their job easy as pie.
Yeah, so they can sit there at the table and be like, let's just figure out who's going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4.
And we told you so. And to me, if that happens, of course, we know Georgia's 1, Michigan's 2, in my opinion. And then Washington would be 3 and Florida State would be 4. I think that's how it would be. Then Georgia would beat Florida State 55-3. Unfortunately for Danny the Dunce, Danny Cannell, and then
he's at it again.
And then it would be a good game between Michigan and Washington. I think Washington, would probably lose that game. I would have to go with Michigan being able to control the clock, control the line of scrimmage.
You said that last year against Wofford.
But I think overall, but that's how I would seed it if it was those 4 teams. But again, I don't think it'll be chalk. I think there'll be some things happen. But who knows? Maybe it's one of these years where you might have 4 undefeateds get to the end. It never happens, but we'll see. And I do think that people, just because Kentucky beat Louisville, just writing Louisville off with a chance to beat Florida State. I mean, Florida State was losing 12-0 to the Gators. I mean, they were not playing very well. And so I think on a neutral field, Louisville will have a chance in this game. Am I guaranteeing a win? No. But I still think it's interesting, Scott, that yesterday the line was 3 points. Florida State was favored by 3. So I think Louisville's got more than a puncher's chance to win this game.
That last question, Oregon, if they were to beat Washington and it comes down to Alabama-Oregon, what do you think the committee will do? Alabama beating Georgia.
I think Alabama would have the stronger resume because Oregon would have split with Washington, but they did not beat Georgia, who's won 29 games in a row. And see, a lot of people keep thinking, well, they're going to choose Oregon. They keep saying they love Oregon. Well, they haven't seen Alabama beat Georgia. If Alabama were to beat Georgia, I think Georgia's the best team in the country now, that would be a huge impact on what the committee saw. And I will say this: I know people have been giving the committee a hard time. I think there's enough football people on that committee
we went over
that would
that
understand.
Yesterday of who's on that committee.
Right.
It'll be interesting because you look at the committee and you look at what they'd be looking at. They would be looking at Alabama stopping Georgia's 29-game win streak, a win against number 1. Oregon, who has been ahead of Alabama in every ranking, would have beaten a top 4 team in Washington. It'd be interesting to see the debate on that conversation. All right, Bob, the Georgia dog, now with us. Good morning, sir.
How you doing?
Hey. Good morning, fellas. Drew stole my thunder. Agree with pretty much everything he said. Here's the deal. The national championship game is Saturday. And
I believe that. I think it's the 2 best teams in the country.
100%. The Bama team that I saw the second half of the season and against Auburn, which was, that was just a crazy game. I really enjoyed watching it. They are not the same team that lost to Texas. They're a totally different team. Now, Washington, sorry, Bama would thump them. Bama would thump them. Florida State, without their quarterback, they're done. They may lose to Louisville this weekend. They really might. And I think Georgia and Alabama are the two best teams. Now, to all out and doing all these math equations trying to figure out how Bama gets in if they beat Georgia. Here's the deal. If Bama beats Georgia on Saturday, they are getting into the college football playoff. Full stop, period. They're getting in because they will be a one-loss SEC champion that beat a team with a gazillion wins in a row, back-to-back national champions. They're in. Georgia will be out. Now, I don't think Alabama's going to win on Saturday. I think Georgia's going to win, but I think it's going to be an absolute battle. Another epic battle between two powerhouses. And, Georgia's never beat Alabama in the SEC championship. This is, I think we have a really good, solid team all around. From special teams to everything. All around, I think we have probably a better team than Alabama. But Milroe, when he's running around like that, he scares me. He reminds me of Michael Vick. And they are not the same team that lost to Texas. So this is going to be a battle, and whoever wins is just going to stomp everybody else in the playoffs. That's all I got, fellas, and I
Thanks,
enjoy
Bob.
it.
Appreciate it.
Take care.
Thanks, Bob. Let me ask you this. If Oregon and Alabama played, if that was the game this weekend, what would the spread be, do you think, of an Alabama-Oregon game?
I would think Alabama would be about a 3 or 4 point favorite, 5 maybe.
Are they pretty close
most.
to each other?
For the eye test, I think so. Now, I've heard that Herb Street and some of the others say their eye test says that Oregon's better than Alabama. Get some cataract surgery. But I'll just at least, and that may have been true a month and a half ago.
Right.
I don't think it's true now. Okay. Now, and I think Oregon is one of the 4 best teams, and I think that's why they're going to beat Washington. Bama Bulldog Sales is tweeting it and saying, shouldn't we want Washington to beat Oregon, to eliminate Oregon? But then you have an undefeated Washington team that's in no matter what. There is no debate. Washington's in. They're going to be one of the 4. I'm sorry to write off your Hawkeyes, but this is a scrimmage. So
no.
So
Michigan, I'm not putting them any further.
I've already got Michigan in of any of the 4.
I'm not putting them any further.
Michigan is at worst the 2 seed, maybe the 1 if Alabama upsets Georgia. Okay. There are 2, and then there'll be 1 if Alabama upset Georgia, because it would be an upset because Georgia's favored.
Look, I just want a game for a half.
Okay, so
give me a half.
So Michigan is going to get in. So
yeah.
And if Washington wins, they're in. And then so what you'd have to hope after that is that Florida State lost and that Alabama beat Georgia, and that could still happen, and that and Alabama would get in, I believe. But I just think I guess my main thing is, and I understand that the situation, but Alabama is going to have either Washington or Florida State to lose. They
need a slot.
To be honest, if both of them lost, it would create more conversation, and I think it would give Alabama an even stronger case because there's not an undefeated team. Because, again, that's the crutch the committee is going to use. Well, so-and-so's an undefeated conference champion.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. If you take away the undefeated conference champions, you're going to get chaos.
I've said this. If Washington beats Oregon for a second time, then they deserve to be in the 14 playoff as a 13-0 conference champion. But I've been saying all this believing that Oregon is going to win that game. Maybe they won't. We'll know by Friday night if Washington's already in the playoff.
If Oregon beats Washington and Alabama beats Georgia, there's 2. I think Oregon and Alabama both get in. There's 2 spots.
I think I'll just say this. To me right now, by eye test, Scott.
Yes.
If you're going by the 4 best teams in the country, I think the 4 best teams in the country are Georgia, Alabama, Oregon, and probably Texas. Are the 4 best teams. I really believe that. I don't think Washington is one of the 4 best teams, but they'll have their chance to prove it, man. If they can beat Oregon on Friday, then they're in. And Florida State, I don't give a damn what Danny Cannell said. They're not one of the 4 best teams. They have no shot, Danny. No shot. I don't care if they beat Louisville. They're going to the playoff to get mutilated. They will not win. They will get their ass whipped. Okay, that's just the bottom line. They've had a hell of a year. I think Norvell has done an amazing job overcoming the ignoramus, dirt neck ending, and then Willie Taggart, the moron, hiring him. He has done amazing. Okay, but they lost their quarterback. I don't think they have one of the 4 best teams. Even if they get in the playoff. And by the way, if they go 13-0, they're in. Yes. I have no problem with it. I've said it. I have nothing against Florida State at all. They'll get in, but I just don't think they'll win
Not
it.
with one loss.
I don't think. No, I'm just saying even if they get into the playoff, they ain't winning a semifinal game. I just don't think they're going to win the national championship. I think they've had a hell of a year. And Shelby Hunter's a good friend of mine. He's a huge Florida State fan, and I dig it. If they beat Louisville, they're in, man. I have no problem with it. Even though I think Alabama would still be a better team, even with 2 losses. But you got 2 losses, man. There has to be some sort of there has to,
repercussions for losing.
We're not
twice.
Democrats here. There has to be some sort of repercussion for it. We're not the dumbass that's in the White House.
Okay. Let's get a break in. When we come back, we'll stay on to the phone lines, and we'll talk more college football and continue to get you ready for the SEC championship game.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A mostly sunny sky this afternoon, but it is going to be on the chilly end of the spectrum today. Highs only climbing into the mid and upper 40s. We're dropping into the upper 20s, lower 30s as we head into the overnight early Wednesday morning. Plenty of sunshine on Wednesday afternoon. Temperatures climbing into the mid 50s. More cloud cover for your Thursday. Temperatures climbing into the mid and upper 50s. Rain's going to begin to move into the Tennessee Valley as we head into Thursday night, early into Friday morning. From there, it looks like it could stick with us. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Good morning. We picked up a stalled vehicle in Decatur, Westmead, and Danville. I think they got a Decatur fire unit there attempting to assist, and they've called for traffic control from Decatur PD. Everything else looks good this morning. I don't see any other snags. Dr. Sandman has the Somnodent, a safe, insurance-approved alternative for snoring and sleep apnea. Dr. Randall Sandlin, 350-CARE. Captain Nick in the 72 and Jeff Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Tom Luganbill here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold-certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
Work injuries happen in Alabama all the time, whether it's an accident at work, getting injured, lifting heavy objects, hurting your hands on a machine, or just performing the same movement over and over until your body breaks down. But when it happens, there's only one law firm to call in Alabama. That's Pond Lehocky Giordano. For personalized legal support, reach out to Pond Lehocky at 855-774-3838 or pondlehocky.com.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
There's nothing like the freedom you feel when you're on the water in your own boat from Freedom Marine in Gunnersville. And when it's time to get your boat ready for cold weather, Freedom Marine is your best choice to winterize your boat so it's ready to go next spring. If you've been thinking about a new boat, Freedom Marine has a great selection on sale now with some of the biggest discounts they've had in a decade. For new and used boats, outboard sales, financing, service and parts, it's Freedom Marine. Highway 431 in Gunnersville and online at freedommarincenter.com.
Watch the Alabama High School Super 7 Football Championship presented by Alabama Community College System December 6th through the 8th on Alabama Public Television. It's all the gut-wrenching, hard-hitting, high-flying action you've come to expect from...
Wait, Alabama Public Television? Okay.
Watch every game live December 6th through the 8th only on your new home for high school sports, APT.
Touchdown, Alabama! Hi, this is Eli Gold, voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Join us every week for Alabama football right here.
Listen to Alabama football all season long on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. And, the whole talk yes, we are getting you ready for the SEC championship game, but the SEC championship game has a lot of implications when it comes to the college football playoffs. Because if Georgia wins, there's no doubt Georgia will be the number one team going into the college football playoffs. If Alabama can find a way to stop their 29-game win streak in the SEC championship game, where does that put Alabama? Where you'd have to let everything fall into line. We'll start knowing that on Friday because Oregon plays Washington on Friday in the Pac-12. So there's a lot of intrigue around the SEC championship game because of what it can do for the college football playoffs. But let's think about this 1 year from now. If this was a 12-team playoff, would we be as excited about these conference championship games this weekend if the next year, and we're getting it, so it doesn't matter if we have it, but next year with the 12-team playoff format coming, are we going to be as excited about these conference championship games as we are this year?
Well, I think we will be because of seeding purposes. Because again, you got to understand there's going to be buys mixed in there,
right?
So you've got to go ahead and that's what you have to do. You have to you want to buy so you can rest your football team and set yourself up and not have to play as many games. You can actually play one less game if you get these buys that they're going to mix in. And you're still a conference champion. Now, it just gives you more leeway. Like, for example, this year I think Alabama, even if they lost to Georgia, I think they would be in. They'd be one of the last teams in, and they'd have to play an extra game, and it would be a very likely a scenario where you're having to travel. Because remember, these first-round games, Scott, are going to be on campus site, so you're going to have to go to somebody's house and play. But you would still have a chance to play. Now, there would still be a debate because Tim Brandblow and the rest of these clowns would be out there. Brando would be out there yelling, trying to convince you that Liberty probably deserves more of a shot than Alabama because that's how stupid he is. But I'm just saying.
I had to listen to him call the Iowa State-Kansas State.
Oh,
game,
I turned it. I did watch about maybe a play of it, but I'm not sitting here listening to him and his lap dog. From Oklahoma, Spencer Moron call the game. I'm not listening to those two clowns.
Let's go. He's not a clown. Let's go to Bama Bino.
What's up, Bama Bino?
Morning, guys. Great show again. You never let me down. I just wanted to correct something. I said I should have known to have my facts straight before I misspeak like I did. And I'm being serious. Hugh Freeze did get a lot of players flipped.
He did, yeah.
And I was trying to make the point that, he inherited, and that's the wrong word to use. He did not inherit all of them. But what I was meaning was he didn't get a full run and a head start on a full recruit cycle.
That's true.
He could only get he was only allowed to get what was available in the transfer portal. Mm-hmm. And a lot of those guys are not the very best of players. They wouldn't be transferring. But another thing you said a while ago, you're right. Florida had a 12-0 lead on Florida State, and I'll go you one better. You know what I'm fixing to say. UNA had a 13-0 lead on them.
They did. That's true. When that terrible injury happened.
We know it was a blowout. It was a blowout later, but they played a quarter and a half of good, gritty football with them. And I just don't think they could play with Alabama. And I guess it's taking me longer to get used to this transfer and NIL and all because I guess you got to factor in there that they don't have the depth. Is that why our offensive line is struggling so bad?
Well, Bama Bino, I think the offensive line at Alabama has improved greatly since the Texas game. I think Caden Proctor's improved. I think putting Jaden Roberts at right guard has improved. They had 450 yards against Auburn. Now, they made a couple mistakes in the red zone, which I don't really think it was play calling. I've had, a moron from New Jersey trying to say that it was it was the play calling was atrocious. I think it was the execution of said plays. I don't really think it was the play calling itself. I mean, he would probably want Tommy Rees fired, but that's why he lives in New Jersey and doesn't know anything about football.
Caden Proctor and also was named SEC
offensive lineman
of the week this past week.
Yeah,
oh my Lord.
Yeah, and he's done a lot better, Ben. If you watch the last month, he's improved. Certainly, I think J.C. Latham's played much better. I think the entire line of itself has. I mean, they gave up a sack late in the game where Roberts got beat by Marcus Harris. Marcus Harris beat him, but I think they've done a much better job of getting movement. I think it's one of those things where I think early the one issue that has lingered is the snaps. And there was a snap late in the game, right before the 4th and 31, where McLaughlin screwed that up, and he can't do that against Georgia. I mean, you're going to kill yourself. Yeah. I mean, they've got to fix that, and then so it'll be interesting to see if Alabama, if they move on from McLaughlin after this year, or if he comes back, because he actually has at least 1 year, if not 2 years, of eligibility left. But he went through senior day. He might transfer to another school, or he might just move on in his football career. I don't know. And there was a very interesting transfer portal addition from Notre Dame in the portal yesterday that I was pointed out to look at.
Lord, so many guys.
Well, there will be. I mean, but the connection there is
Tommy Rees.
Yeah.
So I think it's the center, right?
It is the center. He's
the center from Notre Dame.
He'll be a 6th-year guy. He's got a year left, and he's gone into the portal. So he's probably someone that you might look at, especially depending on what happens with McLaughlin going forward. Because McLaughlin Bambino has been kind of non-committal on what his future holds.
All right, Bambino, thanks for the phone call, bud.
Thank you.
Going to keep it short. We got to get a break in. When we get back, Brandon and Jeff from the Borough, we're going to get to you. Let's get this break in, then we'll wrap up hour one with phone calls.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Just got a wreck on Pulaski Pike. This one's going to be near Grimwood Road. It is being reported as an injury type. And they've been working with a stall indicator at Westmead and Danville. That one may still be causing some problems. The end of the year is coming. If you need temp, admin, or accounting help for special projects, Snelling can help. Snelling, how the area's best companies hire talent. Huntsville.snelling.com. Captain Neck in the North Parkway, Popeyes, Skywatch Traffic Center.
Ann Adams with Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate is the one name to know if you're buying or selling real estate. With years of local experience, Ann Adams offers buyers in-depth knowledge of the local housing market and will narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in so you can save time when shopping for your new home. If you're ready to sell, Ann offers a seamless process using accurate pricing and expert negotiation skills to make sure you get a fair price for your home. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or log on bhhsriserealestate.com.
Hey folks, this is Arthur Seaton, managing partner at University Kia, proudly saying Roll Tide and War Eagle. Stop into University Kia today and shop one of the area's largest selection of new Kias, including Fortes, Seltos, Telluride, and Popular Carnival, and fully electric EV6. View all the great specials at universitykia.com and get pre-approved in minutes so you can drive home your new Kia you really want, because we want to see you in a University Kia.
SportsMed is the official team physicians of the Rocket City Trash Pandas. And if the pros trust SportsMed, you can too. SportsMed provides every service you might need for complete orthopedic care, specializing in orthopedic surgery, sports medicine, joint replacement, spine surgery, neurosurgery, and podiatry. And they offer their own brace shop, in-house full-body MRI, physical therapy, walk-in clinic, and so much more. 4 locations and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com.
All right, welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Let's get right out to the phone lines. Jeff from the Borough with us this morning. Good morning, Jeff.
How you doing, guys?
Good.
If Liberty's not held for the playoff, then they're going to have the bowl games anyway. James Madison and Jacksonville State should not be playing bowl games. You have to have the rules for a reason. This 2-year transition, I'm tired of this business. They're trying to sue the NCAA, and the reason why they didn't do it is because somebody finally beat James Madison, and they didn't want to do it then. Okay,
Well,
they're in a bowl
but
game,
here's the
Jeff.
thing, though. Here's the thing, Jeff. No, here's the thing. If the NCAA is going to have a rule, then they better stay to it. This isn't.
They do stick to it. They do.
No. This isn't Jacksonville State and James Madison getting in because of them suing. This is because the NCAA has a loophole in their own rule.
Yeah, should even be a rule because they have a loophole in their own rule.
They have a loophole in their own rule, which is letting them play.
I'm just saying, if you didn't have the rules, these 2 years, if you didn't have it, everybody would jump.
Everybody wants me to ask you, Jeff, are you going to apply for the Middle Tennessee job?
No, I will not. That's ridiculous. Don't be asking me dumb questions like that.
Well, you seem to have all the answers. I just thought I'd ask you. I mean, why? It's a valid question, Jeff.
Whoever they are, I believe that. But now, if you didn't have the rules, everybody would jump. Because Delaware announced yesterday they're joining Conference USA.
Yeah, they are. They're paying the $5 million. Yeah.
They're going to do a 2-year thing to go. In 25, 26, they'll be eligible for bowl games then. Okay, so that's the only reason why they're getting in, because there's not enough 6-6 teams.
Right,
if
that's
there was
right.
enough 6-6, they wouldn't be going.
No, you're right. You're
right,
right. That's
Jeff.
the
You're
NCAA
right.
rule
You're right.
that lets them in there. So why, if you're the NCAA, why do you have
Why do you
a
even
rule?
have the loophole?
Yeah,
that's what we're talking about.
That's what we're saying.
There's not enough. Then they have less bowl games then, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, you don't just cancel a bowl game,
That's
Jeff.
not my point is, if you're going to have a rule and not let teams
He's saying stick to the rule, like you're saying.
Rule. Don't open up a little window and say, I tell you what.
Because it's really, that's
why
why the NCAA is idiotic. That's what he's trying to say.
Yes.
They're just trying to fill out bowl slots is what it matters.
Yeah, that's what they are. And I'm happy for Jacksonville State, and I'm happy for James Madison. They deserve to go to bowls.
All right, Jeff, thanks for the phone call.
But to me, they're only why they're going this year, but they wouldn't normally. But to me, they deserve to go after the 2-year period.
Well, unfortunately, South Kakalaki and
on this.
Well,
Thanks,
whatever.
Thanks.
Let's go. Next call.
Brandon's with us. Good morning, Brandon.
What's up, Brandon?
They could hire him for the East Tennessee job. They went 0-10. Nobody noticed.
Well, Jeff's not going to mention that. He didn't go to East Tennessee.
How dare you ask him a stupid question?
How many stupid questions has he asked me over the years? If we had enough of that, he'd be moron of the year probably every year.
Well, I just want to say, and for good reason, congratulations to Rich Rod for being bowl eligible.
Yeah, it's great.
I owe him one, so appreciate you, Rich Rod. Keep that one in my back pocket. But just remember how fast you drive through Jacksonville. That's all I'm going to say. Go no further.
Cannonball run.
Hell, I was going so fast that Dom DeLuise would have took off as fast as he was. Tilt speed.
Exactly.
It's a cold morning to go to Mentone. I've got 10 chocolate chip pound cakes from the sweet bar in the back seat of the car. I got to go deliver to the school here in a minute.
Oh, I thought you said you were bringing him.
I thought you were bringing him a pound cake.
We're gonna be over there in like less than a month, so I'm okay. We'll
yeah,
be good.
Scott's gonna get a steak over there. Yeah. By the way, that was a good game to listen to last night. It was quite a ball game.
Yes.
Tommy Murr with some onions, double order.
The quarterback, I believe, is for Utah State.
Yeah.
Is foregoing his eligibility to join the Navy and says he's going to SEAL school.
Oh wow!
So bravo to him. Hats off to him.
Yes.
A lot to say about that. Got offered tickets this weekend to the game.
Right.
And told my wife, I said, to me, this is a national championship game.
So are you going?
Oh yeah, we're going. She's insisting upon going.
Okay.
So I'm gonna take her. I'm very shocked. Very rarely does she ever really want to go to a game.
Well, she's a Georgia fan, though, right?
Unfortunately, I told her, I'm going to stick you in here with mom.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
And I told her Saturday night, I'm sitting there watching TV, and I said, it's Tate Rodemaker. And she says, who is that? I said, well, Wayne up the street, my neighbor, the head coach at Darlington High School, when he got hired down at Valdosta, he didn't have a house. So he lived with Alan Rodemaker.
Okay.
And I went down there, spent the weekend with him, and they got us free tickets to a Florida State game. I wanted to go just to see the stadium. So we went there and watched them absolutely destroy Maryland, with crab legs. We went down there and done that, and I texted Alan and said something to him, asked him what's up, and he responded to me. And it's just weird how it's a big world, but it's a small world. That you looked at a kid that you were throwing a football with in middle school back in 14, and he's on TV now starting for Florida State.
Yeah.
It's really amazing.
Yep.
It's cool.
What is going to be on the menu for the Scott Tyson game party? Because I know the emphasis is going to be on food.
Yeah.
Probably not going to be on the game.
I don't know yet. I've got a cross-country meet I've got to be at for most of
Don't
Saturday.
you have a lot of stuff left over because you made enough Thanksgiving
no,
for
it's
5
pretty much
people?
Gone. I've
Oh,
eaten like a
Lord.
dang
You've already
pig.
eaten all that?
Oh, yeah. I've consumed.
Wow.
I've consumed so much food in the last 3 days.
Man.
Don't know yet. Hey, Brandon, I'll get back. I'll get back to you on that. But thanks for the phone call because I really got to think about that.
We're thinking about Jeff applying for the Middle Tennessee job.
Yeah, Bulldog Johnny with us.
What's
this
up,
morning.
Bulldog Johnny?
Yes.
What's up, man?
Hey, good morning, fellas. How y'all doing this morning?
We're doing good, man.
Hey, I got just a couple things for you. I'll be quick so I get off the line and get someone else on. But first of all, Drew, do not give up the spunk. It is the highlight of my morning when someone gets the heaters on and you start going all in. So bravo to you. Keep doing what you're doing, brother.
Appreciate it.
Second thing is Alabama, Georgia coming up.
Yeah.
I'm going to be completely honest. I see holes in both Georgia offense and defense. Alabama's defense at times, Jalen Milroe with bad decisions. I really think this is going to be a very memorable SEC championship. What you think?
I would agree with that. I picked 27-23 Alabama. I think it's going to be a classic. But can Georgia win the game easily? Absolutely. I mean, they're a great football team. I think it's a very even matchup. I think Georgia has done a great job of evolving and with transitioning from to Carson Beck as quarterback. He's done a great job taking over for us. And I think he's played at a high level. I think he hadn't had too many hiccups. I mean, he struggled a little bit against Auburn, and I think that's why that game ended up being close. But again, he had Brock Bowers that he could go to. But as far as Georgia, I think their running game has been a little bit spotty. But now they've got Kendall Milton healthy. He's coming off his best game. Edwards is a solid guy. So they've got a lot of weapons. They're getting Ladd McConkey back. The second part of the season, not having him early in the season, I think was big because he's a guy that's going to be an NFL player. I know, who cares? I know he wasn't a 3 or a 4 or 5 star player or whatever, but he's an outstanding player.
They didn't have McConkey or Bowers on the field at the same time.
Yeah, and again,
I mean, they had one or the other.
Stetson Bennett developed into a really good player, and Carson Beck has done the same thing. So I give Bobo a lot of credit for that. They still have a really good offensive line. And when I know their schedule wasn't as difficult. I understand that, but they were quote unquote supposed to be tested a couple of times, and they passed them with flying colors. Auburn was probably the biggest hiccup. Missouri did stress them a little bit, but they crushed Ole Miss when everybody thought that was going to be a game. And so I think it's going to be a classic. Bulldog Johnny. I think it's two teams that are evenly matched.
All I know is, for lack of whatever it may be, for right now, forget the national championship. I am excited for this matchup.
I think everybody's looking forward to it. Yeah. They didn't play last year either. And now, ironically, they're going to play twice in about 8 months.
Yeah, we're going to go over that in hour number 2 as Alabama's 2024 SEC
maybe
schedule,
3 times in a year.
Yeah, has come out with the exception of 3 games. We don't know the 3 games.
Yeah.
We'll fill you in hour number 2, but when we come back, Mississippi State has a new head football coach. We'll find out more about Jeff Lebby coming up next.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Unlike other credit cards that decline sports betting transactions or treat them as a cash advance, the G-Bank Visa Signature Card can load directly to your favorite sportsbook apps. G.bank/VSiN.
Santos is good from 30 yards. The action courtesy of the Bears Radio Network, 12-10, the win over the Vikings in Minneapolis on Monday night. Cairo Santos made a 30-yard field goal for Chicago with 10 seconds remaining on the clock. It was his fourth of the game. Chicago improves to 4-8 overall, while the Vikings dropped to 6-6. The Vikings were favored by 3. Chicago paid plus 142. The over-under 43.5. Top 25 hoops tonight. New number 1 Purdue favored by 30.5 at home against Texas Southern. Number 12 Kentucky by 5.5 at home against number 8 Miami. Get the latest lines and more at vsin.com.
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
All right, welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond. Happy Tuesday morning, 8 o'clock on the dot. Hour 2 of Talking Ball officially underway. And yesterday we talked about head coaching vacancies being filled. We mentioned Texas A&M getting their guy in Mike Elko. And then Mississippi State getting their guy. There's a difference. Now, I know I've heard some things saying, okay, look, Zach Arnett, first head coaching job out of the gates, Mississippi State.
Yeah.
This is the first head coaching job for their new head coach as well. Levy.
Yeah, Jeff Levy.
Jeff Levy. This is his first head coaching job. Is there a difference between the two?
Well, I mean, I just think it's an interesting dynamic now within the state of Mississippi because Jeff Levy was the OC for Lane Kiffin just a couple of years ago. So he knows Lane very well. This is going to make the Egg Bowl, which is probably the most underrated rivalry in college football, even spicier. It's certainly always been intense, but I think it'll take on a new level of intensity now, even more so. I think it's a very interesting hire. I know they vetted head coaches. There was even talk of Dan Mullen, and our next guest mentioned Dan Mullen the last time we had him on the show. He's also now put out his latest book, When the Bottom Falls, which is basically a memoir about his life and where he is now as a person and where he was and is. And he's certainly been a very accomplished author in the state of Mississippi. He's been a good friend of ours. He does a great job for genespage.com, part of 24/7 Sports. It's always great to catch up with Steve Robertson. We hope he had a happy Thanksgiving, and he's now going to join us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Steve, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing grand. How are you guys?
We're doing well. And so I saw I know you put it up on social media. The book is finally done. It's been produced. It's been published. How are things going, man? I mean, I know that it was a work that probably meant more to you than any of your books. You've done such an amazing job as an author, but I know this one had a special place in your heart.
Yeah, it did. You know, what happens in books too, you know, like you do, the first printing is kind of a short run, right?
Gotcha. Because
because if you've got a mistake in there, right, you don't want to have 10,000 books out there floating around with that same mistake, right? So the first printing sometimes is a little more limited, which makes it more valuable in the eyes of some people. I've seen the John Grisham, A Time to Kill short run too. That thing was about to fall apart even when it came out. But so yeah, I don't know that we ordered enough books though, and that's a good problem to have.
Yes.
And of course now there's no longer a national paper shortage, so they can turn those things around in about 4 weeks. But I feel confident that before the holiday shopping season is over, that we'll sell out of that book. And it'll take us a little while to get it, but I don't control those things. I'm just here to look cute and write books. But it's you go to whenthebottomfalls.com and you can get it. And if I make it to December 10th, and there's a good chance that I will, it'll be 32 years clean and sober. And
there you go.
And I just felt like, hey, this is the time to write this. And it's the one book I had to write before I died, right? So I wanted to be able to share the things that I've learned in a life of recovery, and not just how to do it, but how to maintain it. I think that's one of the more difficult things for people. It's not about getting sober. It's about staying sober. And so that's really what the book is about.
Well, Mississippi State is ushering in a new era, the Jeff Levy era, underway there in Starkville. Something else now that you can possibly look forward to writing a book in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I'm actually started research on the next book, but it's got nothing related to Mississippi State football of the current variety. But yeah, Jeff Levy coming on board, and my wife she told me when we went to the airport to get some footage of him there. She said, "This is the first time I've seen your normal smile in weeks." And I said, "Yeah, because I don't have to cover a coaching search anymore. It's so exhaustive. It really is." And I get obsessive about this stuff. Like when I get ready to, I know there's somebody out there that has the information that I seek. It's just about making the right phone calls, right? And so we covered it religiously every day. The only day we didn't have updates was on game day because we wanted our attention to be on the team, right, and on the young men that are out there representing our university. But I'm excited about Jeff. And I said from the beginning that if State hired a coordinator, Jeff would be the top candidate, and that's what it turns out to be. But if you look at this season for Mississippi State, I mean, defensively this team played really well. I mean, and what's interesting, there's so many people that don't look at the year-end numbers. You go look at where State is defensive efficiency in the Southeastern Conference, it would amaze you. The issue with Mississippi State had is, we couldn't score. Especially when Will Rogers got injured. Of course, now he's in the portal, but. When you go a month of the year without QB1 and QB2 has a completely different skill set, you're going to lose some ball games, and that's what happened. But I think Jeff Levy is a guy that understands, we're going to outscore people. We may not be able to stop people the way we did under Zach Arnett, but we're going to go out there and put points on the board, and that's going to excite people. And that's the thing in this league. If you can't score, you can't compete with LSU, Alabama, and Georgia, and that's kind of where Mississippi State's been for a little while.
Well, and I saw you and your colleague Robbie Falk. We featured Robbie as well here. You guys had great coverage of the excitement at the airport. There certainly was a lot of energy around Jeff Levy. But I want to kind of transition to Will Rogers. You guys, of course, covered his last game. His press conference was very emotional. You can tell, being at State meant a lot to him. It would look to me like he would be a fit for what Levy wants to do. Is there any opportunity for him to come back to State now that Levy has been hired? And because I just felt like he was not a fit for what Arnett was doing offensively.
Yeah, I mean, there's always that possibility. You don't totally rule it out. I do think Will, maybe at this point, I'm sure Jeff Levy's going to sit down and talk to him, right? I mean, that's sure, but I think maybe this decision is something that Will's been pondering for a while. Matter of fact, I was told probably a month ago that there was a good chance that he would leave the program and go to Western Kentucky or Southern Miss. Mike Leach's offensive protege, Drew Hollingshead, of course, was on the staff under Mike Leach here at Mississippi State. He and Will are very close, and they're still running an air raid offense up there. And, of course, Southern Miss, Luke Rogers, Will's younger brother, is a player there. So I think if he doesn't get what he wants out of the portal, he's already got a couple of good opportunities for him to go play and put up some big numbers. And so I'm a Will Rogers fan, no matter what uniform he's wearing. I guess if he wouldn't play at Ole Miss, I may reconsider that. But yeah, I mean, Will's a great young man. And I don't know that he's always had the respect that he deserves. And I wrote that column over the weekend, too, that Will Rogers has done some amazing things. He is the second most prolific passer in the history of the Southeastern Conference. And people sometimes just act like he's just some other dude. That's just not the case. And if he had not gotten injured this year, he probably would have set a record in the SEC that may never be broken.
Yeah, that's very true.
So he comes in there, but the thing is now, too, with the transfer portal, while it's probably going to take some guys away from the roster, you look at the way college football is now, I'm not saying he can build a roster overnight, but he can go out and he can find guys in the transfer portal to help fill a little bit of holes to fit this offense in year one, probably a little faster.
Yeah, I would think so. But I think also, too, is Mississippi State, from an NIL standpoint, is in better shape than it's ever been.
Yes.
And you would say, well, everybody should be. Well, everybody should be. But State, from what we hear, is now kind of middle of the pack in the Southeastern Conference right now, whereas last year near the bottom of the pack. And so you've got a new coach, you've got new energy, you've got some NIL money to work with. You're going to have plenty of scholarship slots to work with. There'll be some other guys go in the portal too. I mean, that's just the life in which we live. That's not an indictment on anybody, right? They're guys. You only get a short time in life to play sports, right? So you got a chance to go play somewhere else where you're not playing here. We wish you the best. I mean, I don't call those people traitors, right? I mean, you got to be true to yourself. And again, you only get 4 years of eligibility, so you need to make the most of those. But I think Levy is the guy, because of his profile as a play caller and the fact that he does want to air it out, will be a serious player in the quarterback market. And you get that guy in, and that becomes a drawing card for the rest of those guys. Because let's just be honest, as prolific as Will has been, if Levy's out there, it's like, hey, 4-star receiver, 5-star receiver, I'm going to run my offense with the same offensive personnel we had last year here at Mississippi State. I just need you to come be a part of that. I don't think that's nearly as attractive. I think when you go out there and you say, hey, we've got this guy coming in, and you're one of the guys he told me he wanted to play with, we're going to turn this thing around right away. And I was told that was one of the selling points from Levy in his interview, is he goes, hey, we're going to be able to flip this roster quickly. And so I think that's what needs to happen. I think Jeff Levy is the guy that'll be very much a player in the quarterback market this year, and that's what we'll call it, because as we all know, NIL is a part of that whole deal. But Mississippi State's ready to play.
They are, and we're talking to Steve Robertson, genespage.com, and When the Bottom Falls. That's his new book that is going to be out and is out very shortly. You can order that memoir, which is, of course, a look back at his life and where he is. And as he said, just coming up very shortly in a few days, 32 years sober. What a story for Steve Robertson. But now for Mississippi State, Steve, how quickly is this staff going to come together? Because with the NIL world now, the portal opening on December the 4th, and then the recruiting class, the early signing period has basically come the date now. How quickly is the staff going to come together in your mind?
Yeah, I think for the most part it'll be mostly together this week. I mean, the contact period opens on December 1st, right? So it's not just the fact that the portal opens on Monday after the SEC championship game, and you're going to be able to go in and have those in-home visits. You want to be able to tell them, okay, this is the guy that's going to be coaching you. This is your role. It's not going to be, hey, don't you love us because we're wearing maroon and white? I mean, you've got to have a plan, and this is how you fit into that plan. And so Jeff Levy told us last night that over the next 2 to 3 days, things would kind of come into focus. Of course, he is not hitting the ground blind, right? I mean, he was already talking to people, and we got wind of that late last week, that he was already kind of making some contact with some guys about being on his staff. And so, and I asked him last night at press conference, and he goes, yeah, here in the next couple of days, we're going to have some pretty big news. And so we do think this thing comes together. I don't know how many or if any of the current assistants are retained. I know that a couple of guys will have the opportunity to interview for the position, but, you got to give Levy carte blanche for this thing, right? You don't go hire this guy and then go pick his staff for him. You got to let him get who he wants, and if he decides to retain some guys, then that's good too. But sometimes you need a house cleaning, and maybe there's going to be a good portion of that, but we'll see as we get going. But I think there's going to be some names that may surprise some people in college football that end up being a part of the staff.
Was ultimately Jeff Levy their first choice?
I guess it depends on who you ask and when you ask him. I'm confident that he was the top guy from the coordinator ranks.
Yeah.
And I had somebody close to the search tell me in the infancy that Zach Selman knew what he wanted to do, but did not want to go through the search process with blinders on, that he wanted to be open and work through the turnkey search firm, interviewed several candidates. But if somebody told me in hindsight, hey, I think Jeff Levy was the guy all along and he just wanted to meet with candidates and have somebody try to change his mind, I could get on board with that too. I don't know that I really believe that yet, and I don't know if we'll ever know that. But I am confident when I say that John Sumrall from Troy and Jeff Levy were the two finalists. I am absolutely 100% confident in that statement. And I don't know if you could have gone wrong either way, but I think in the end there are advantages and disadvantages to both. I think State is the kind of program over the years that has thrived better when you've had offensive-minded coaches, and John Sumrall, obviously a defensive-minded coach and also a Kentucky guy. And with all of that stuff going on with Stoops and A&M, I can certainly understand why there would be some hesitation to go in that direction. But the bottom line is this. It doesn't matter if Jeff Levy was first, second, third, or fourth choice. He's Mississippi State's head coach now. It's time for all Bulldog fans to get behind him and pull one direction.
Well, that's some great that's why Steve Robertson's the best. We're good friends with John Sumrall, Steve, so that's some really good stuff for our show, and we're very proud of what he's doing at Troy, no doubt about it. But I've got to ask you this. You are as well-versed in music as anyone I know. You've been to tons of concerts. Have you ever seen a athletic director get crowd surf, though? That's the first time I've seen that.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, right? Players picked him up. And I tell you what, like last night, like we had the presentation of the coach, and that was like a rock concert. I mean, it was like, I don't know if you've seen pictures and footage of that thing, but it's like they do it on the steps of the Steel Complex.
Right.
The complex. And it looked like a WWE event. I mean, and then you even had Dr. Keenum and Zach Selman and Jeff Levy, like they had a camera, like them walking out of the office. And one of the guys even said on Twitter, he goes, man, it's like these guys are cutting a WWE promo. And it had that feel to it, and it was so unlike Mississippi State. It was like, hey, we're a big-time program. We're going to behave like a big-time program. We're not just going to go out here and hire a bluegrass band and then have the president hand the new coach a cowbell and call it a day. It was an event, and I think it really signals that there's some special things happening at Mississippi State.
Well, great stuff, Steve. We always appreciate the time. Let everybody know, once again, how to order your book and how to follow you guys over at Gene's page and all the coverage because, as you said, within the next day or two, going to be some big news announced for the coaching staff as well.
Yeah, you can go to whenthebottomfalls.com, and all of my sports books are there, too. So you don't have to go track all that stuff down. And limited quantities now of Stark Villains and Alpha Dogs. That'll go away for about a year, and then we'll do a reprint. But if you're looking to get those, you probably need to move now. But yeah, of course, I'm on all forms of social media at Scout Steve R. And we're genespage.com, the Mississippi State affiliate for 247 Sports, and the #1 source for Bulldogs.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Steve.
See you guys.
That's some good stuff. Look at that.
How about
John
that?
Summerall was
a finalist.
Was one of the two final. And I've even said on the show I wasn't sure how heavily Coach Summerall would pursue the Mississippi State job, but wow, he was nearly a Stark
Jeff
Vegas
Levy.
guy. Yeah.
Wow.
Jeff Levy and John Summerall on the show today, man. But that just goes to show you how good a job that John Summerall is doing.
Right.
And we love what he's doing at Troy. He's had 2 straight now strong years. They're playing for the Sun Belt Championship at home and
against App State.
Against App State on Saturday. So trying to get back-to-back Sun Belt Conference championships. And it just goes to show you in the very near future, I mean, he's going to be a Power 5 head coach, man. He's just doing great things.
Wow. All right. Steve Robertson bringing it today.
And I'll still say this, and I said it to Scott via text. If Mark Stoops, if the idiots in College Station had not just deep sixed everything, and maybe they were right to do it. I don't know.
Maybe that was the hesitation with Mississippi State.
Yeah, because Elko, may be a better fit. I've even said that. But if they had hired Mark Stoops like it was almost done, I still say John Summerall, and that may have caused the hesitation.
Yes, that may have been why
head coach
it
at
paused.
Kentucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. If Mark Stoops leaves Kentucky, like in the next year, yeah, John Summerall, you might as well just pencil that one in. I mean, that you would not need a search firm for that.
Hell, maybe I'd finally go to Lexington because everybody keeps asking me to. I'd probably go for that press conference.
You could pick up Jeff and go up to.
Hell no.
Let's get a break in. Oh, let's look ahead to 2024, shall we? We'll do that next.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Got a report of a wreck on the Parkway southbound right about Clinton. That vehicle stopped in the middle lane, but they just moved, so I'm not sure if there's going to be a wreck there or not. We got Sandlin at Vaughn Road in Limestone County. That's in Elkmont. That one reports with an injury. And Pulaski Pike and Grimwood also reported as an injury type. You get 2 pieces of hand-breaded juicy tender signature chicken and a buttermilk biscuit, $4.99 at Popeyes. University and Jordan, 72 in Jeff and North Parkway. Captain Eck in the Popeyes Skywatch Traffic Center.
Specializing in simple and affordable rentals, McCurry Van and Car Rental can make sure you have just the right vehicle for your next family vacation, weekend getaway, or if you just need transportation while your vehicle is being repaired. McCurry carries Ford Transit vans and Mercedes Sprinter vans, trucks and work vans, and more. And they offer discounted rental rates for long-term rentals. Now with 4 locations: Athens, Muscle Shoals, Coleman, and Huntsville. Log on McCurryRentals.com to make your reservation now. That's McCurryRentals.com.
Chapman Commercial Realty, your source for Alabama commercial real estate. Chapman Commercial Realty has the experience and expertise you're looking for when making commercial real estate decisions. If it's office space, retail space, investment property, or project development, Chapman Commercial Realty is your answer. Call Bill Chapman today at 256-656-8413. That's 256-656-8413. Or find them online at chapmancommercialrealty.com.
Not looking or feeling your best? No energy for the things you like to do? Ready to look and feel younger? Make your appointment at Advanced Life Clinic, one of the region's foremost destinations for patients interested in looking and feeling their best. Specializing in advanced laser treatments and weight loss, male and female rejuvenation to offset the effects of aging, and more. See how Advanced Life Clinic can help you enjoy your life again. Call 256-882-6555 or log on advancedlifeclinic.com.
What if I told you that Bigfoot is real and that he's making the best donuts you've ever had? Come see for yourself at Bigfoot's Little Donuts. Come in and order from over 50 flavors, all made hot and delicious. Ranked in the top 100 donut shops in the nation by Yelp. Bigfoot Little Donuts. Order in store or online at bigfootslittledonuts.com for pickup or delivery from Grub South or DoorDash. South Parkway, Huntsville, and County Line Road, Madison. Bigfoot's Little Donuts.
Are you tired of chasing a roofing contractor to show up on time or even show up at all? I'm Sam Fleming with Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Our motto at Fleming Roofing is we show up. Our goal at Fleming Roofing is to provide the reliable customer service that you deserve, and we have the resources to meet all of your roofing needs: residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. We are manufacturer certified for roof coatings, single-ply membranes, and asphalt shingles. Whenever you need a roofing professional you can count on, call Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We are committed to finding the solution that meets your needs. We don't have quotas or heavy-handed sales tactics. Fleming Roofing, we have expert experience. We show up. Free estimates, residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. Check us out at FlemingHSV.com. FlemingHSV.com. When you need a quick response, it's Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
All right, welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond with you. And we talked about 2024. And the reason why we bring up 2024 is because Chris Lowe putting it out there yesterday, and everybody
was jumping all over that,
that the Alabama schedule, well, actually the SEC has put out, not the SEC, Chris Lowe has gotten a hold of schedules, dates, and for next year for the SEC, and in particular Alabama. So next year we know Alabama will travel to Wisconsin on September 14th. September 28th, Alabama will host Georgia next year. October 19th, they will be at Tennessee. November 9th, they will be at LSU. November 23rd, they will be at Oklahoma. And November 30th, they will play host to Auburn in the Iron Bowl. They will have two bye weeks next year, will Alabama.
But they don't play nobody. That's what they're about to say. They don't play nobody. They don't play nobody. That schedule's weak.
That schedule is not weak right there at all. But what's notable with that schedule is November 23rd at Oklahoma and then November 30th, Auburn. No more FCS game before the Iron Bowl.
Coach Saban has never wanted. He always it's like that just because he wants the fans to be excited and to come out and watch really good football throughout.
Now, what we don't know is the dates of the Missouri, South Carolina, and Vanderbilt game. They will be at Vanderbilt. They will host Missouri, and they will host South Carolina next year. We just do not know the dates of those games.
Right.
So that's what we know for Alabama for 2024. September 14th, you're at Wisconsin, and then September 28th, you're hosting Georgia. So there you go.
Hey, at least they're not playing Wisconsin in November where it'd be
that is true.
2 degrees.
September 14th will be nice in Madison. Let's go out to the phone lines. Matt is with us this morning. Good morning, Matt.
Hey, good morning. How y'all doing?
Good.
Good.
Well, a couple of things. One, I thought it was kind of funny. I take my 13-year-old son to school every morning, and, of course, we put y'all on the radio and get our little sports fix going, and we pull up to the high school there to drop him off, and he said, "Man, Dad," he said, "I sure am glad we didn't have to listen to Jeff." And I just laughed, and I looked at him, and he said, "That guy irritates me." I'm like, "Okay, son, I respect that." I said, I think he irritates most of North Alabama. But a couple of things. One, I'm trying to figure out what Alabama's or what the SEC are. They're not going to have divisions going forward like East and West. Are they going to realign? That's one thing I'd like to kind of understand. And then y'all had said that when y'all were talking earlier about when the 12-team playoffs, would we still be as, I guess, passionate or excited or concerned? And I don't remember which one of you said yes, but no offense, you're deluding yourself if you think that football fans are going to be as excited or concerned or trying to figure out who's got to lose and who's got to do this so this team's in, because when you get down to 12, nobody really cares. I mean, not to the extent that these top four teams we're talking about, the impact that Oregon's going to have and Washington and Louisville, and I mean, that's what makes. And I know everybody wants more teams in, and I get that. I mean, we all clamored for 1 versus 2, and then we said, well, we got to have a +1, and then we finally got the 4, and we thought, okay, this is it, this is great, and then it's, well, we need 8 or we need 12, and when you get to that point, I think it does take away a lot of this anxiety that we, especially we as Alabama fans right now have, because we got to have a lot of help, and we still got to beat the best team in college football.
Yeah.
And so those are the things that I look at. I'm almost 50 years old, and I hated the way the bowl stuff was done, where you didn't have 1 versus 2, things like that. And then, of course, thought the BCS was the greatest thing, and, but it was all, everybody's got their opinion. But, a 12-team playoff, I don't know. I'm just not a fan, because I think it takes away from, the conference championship games as we go into these super conferences. Is it fair that the SEC is going to play the slate that they're going to play and then have to play, another game? So, does that game go away in the future? What's going on with the SEC as far as, if y'all know the division stuff, I'd really like to know. But, man, we enjoy your show a lot, and y'all have a great day.
Thank you, Matt. There's not going to be divisions. They're doing away with it.
Divisions are done.
They're done. It's just going to be the top 2 teams playing the SEC championship game. There's too much money. They're not going to get rid of the SEC championship game. And again, I do think with the strength of the SEC, now this will cause some consternation, and there'll be people that work for other leagues and that cover other leagues that'll complain. But I think every year there'll be at least a solid case for 3 SEC teams to get into the playoff. I think this year you would have had Georgia, Alabama, and
Ole Miss.
Or don't forget Missouri. Missouri's 10-2 as well. Missouri played Georgia very, very tough. I think one of those 2 would have got in. I would have probably picked Missouri over Ole Miss, honestly, even though Ole Miss's 2 losses were to Georgia and Alabama. But
so
you might have even got all 4. You might have got all 4 of them in.
If you take the 12 right now, okay, I'm just going 1 through 12 right now in the rankings.
Ole Miss and Missouri both.
Georgia would be in
a case.
Georgia, you'd have 1 in Georgia. You'd have number 2 SEC teams in Alabama, 3 in Missouri, and 4 Ole Miss, because Ole Miss is number 11, Missouri is
even
number
though
9.
I think LSU is better than both of them right now, and I look. I know
LSU is number 13, by the way, in the college football playoff.
I know
rankings.
LSU lost to Ole Miss in a shootout, but I think they beat them again. And I just think by eye test, I saw them both play. I think LSU is better. LSU won at Missouri. Don't forget that.
Right.
They won 49-39. Right. But I think LSU, because of the third loss, they would have very likely been out.
So next year at this time,
and they lost
we're
to Florida
getting ready
State
for conference championship games because they will have conference championship games again.
Yeah.
Georgia and Alabama will be playing. Florida State will be playing this weekend. Washington, Oregon, Michigan will be playing. You look at the top 12 now, Ohio State would not be playing this week. Yeah. They would be in the playoffs next week. Texas would be playing this week. Missouri would not be playing this week. Penn State would not be playing. Ole Miss would not be playing. Oklahoma would not be playing. You're going to have several teams not playing in conference championship games that most likely will be in the playoffs at this point next year. It's like a bye week before the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, certain teams, like whoever wins the Alabama-Georgia
game. We'll have a bye week in round one.
The next week, yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. It's going to change.
It's going to be the dynamic will be interesting, no question.
Let's get a break in. Speaking of dynamic, Alabama going to tip off against Clemson in the Big Ten ACC Challenge. Remember, it's not the Big 12 SEC.
Yeah, Jeff didn't go off on that.
That's because it's not in the middle of the season.
Yeah, he's not complaining about that anymore. Yeah. He's too big. He's behind the scenes. Now he's lying to everybody. He's trying to get the job in Middle Tennessee.
High school, right?
No.
Oh, okay. Let's get a break in. Brian Pasick will dial in next.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A mostly sunny sky this afternoon, but it is going to be on the chilly end of the spectrum today. Highs only climbing into the mid and upper 40s. We're dropping into the upper 20s, lower 30s as we head into the overnight early Wednesday morning. Plenty of sunshine on Wednesday afternoon. Temperatures climbing into the mid 50s. More cloud cover for your Thursday. Temperatures climbing into the mid and upper 50s. Rain's going to begin to move into the Tennessee Valley as we head into Thursday night, early into Friday morning. From there, it looks like it could stick with us. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
They moved that wreck on the parkway near Clinton over to the right side of the road. It does not appear to be affecting traffic that much. Got one in Elkmont, Sandlin Road and Vaughn Street. That one is snagging up traffic quite a bit. Maybe an injury there. Pulaski, Pike, and Grimwood had an injury involved. Still may be working to clear it. Expert heart care backed by advanced technology. When you need cardiac care, you need the heart doctor. Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialist on Bob Wallace Avenue. Captain Nick in the 72 and Jeff Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Watch the Alabama High School Super 7 Football Championship presented by Alabama Community College System December 6th through the 8th on Alabama Public Television. It's all the gut-wrenching, hard-hitting, high-flying action you've come to expect from...
Wait, Alabama Public Television? Okay.
Watch every game live December 6th through the 8th only on your new home for high school sports, APT.
Don't let your back or neck pain get in the way. Get back to doing the things you love with the spine and neuro team from Huntsville Hospital. As the most experienced in the area, we have been improving lives in North Alabama for more than 50 years. Whether your favorite fishing hole is on Wilson Lake in the Shoals, Flint Creek, or Lake Gunnersville, Spine and Neuro is nearby to get you back to your best. Visit us online at spineandneuro.com to learn more.
The kitchen is the heart of any home. It's where the family gathers. It's where kids discover old recipes and make them their own. Just starting out or just now getting started on the dream kitchen you've always wanted?
I'm Chris Haygood, and from all of us here at Bob Wallace Appliance to the home builders and the homeowners of the Huntsville area, a heartfelt thank you for buying local. We're in Huntsville, Florence, and Coleman, and online at bobwallaceappliance.com.
Injuries at work happen all the time in Alabama. So do motor vehicle and slip and fall accidents. If you're hurt at work or injured in an accident, I want you to call my good friends at Pond Lehocky Giordano. That's Pond Lehocky, Alabama's injury law firm. They got your back just like they've got mine. For personalized legal support, reach out to Pond Lehocky at 855-774-3838 or pondlehocky.com.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
colors. From heirloom diamonds to contemporary jewels, Loring & Company is the place to find something truly special. Whether shopping for a diamond ring for that once-in-a-lifetime occasion or marking a milestone birthday or personal achievement with a Rolex watch, you'll find just the thing in our edit of the world's most sought-after brands, including David Yurman, Roberto Coin, Marco Bicego, and Fopay. Expect a treasure trove of the world's most unique, even breathtaking earrings, rings, necklaces, and bracelets, making choosing just one piece a challenge in itself. Loring & Company Jewelers on Airport Road.
The best in local sports talk from the 256. We are local.
When you're number one, you don't have to worry.
We are award-winning. Thank you for listening. 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You'll be set for life.
All right, welcome back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond. And we've had a lot of college football conversation, and rightfully so. Because the SEC championship game is counting down, Alabama, Georgia. A lot to give to. I mean, it's only Tuesday, and we probably won't cover everything with that game, even all the way up to Saturday, because there's so much to talk about and so much to kind of dissect that game. But we do want to hit the pause button on the college football conversation, because this year, remember, the ACC and the SEC have hooked up for the ACC-SEC Big Challenge, because the ACC was with the Big Ten. They split. The SEC was with the Big 12. They split because of television rights and everything else. So now you get the ACC and the SEC, and Alabama's going to take on Clemson as a part of that.
Yeah, it's going to be a huge game over at Coleman Coliseum tonight. I know Nate Oates is hoping for a boisterous, big crowd for this Alabama basketball team. It's coming off a 1-1 showing when they traveled to Destin, Florida for the Emerald Coast Classic. They got a big win over Oregon, 99-91. They did drop a 92-81 decision to a really good Ohio State team as they're continuing to evolve and create their identity. And their longtime color analyst for the Crimson Tide Sports Network, he will be on the call with Chris Stewart. He was multitasking during the Iron Bowl as they had basketball going on at the same time as football. But Brian Padzik is joining us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Brian, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. How's everybody doing?
We're doing pretty well. I hope you had a happy Thanksgiving. I know you've been doing this, for nearly 20 years now, Brian. Is that the first time that you guys have been having a broadcast at the same time as the football program?
Sadly, no. I have a lot of experience with it, and it's not ideal. And listen, I mean, the plan was good. The plan was to beat Ohio State.
There you go.
And play Saturday night after the Iron Bowl, kind of a post-Iron Bowl celebration.
There you go.
In the championship game of the Emerald Coast Classic. Unfortunately, Ohio State did not comply with the plan. They were really good in game one, and then you had the football game kickoff at 2:30, the basketball game tip-off at 3, and I know there were, I was not the only one that had one eye on each, and sometimes I had both eyes on my computer in front of me. But I'll tell you, the worst one was, and listen, Nate Oates he's a
football guy too. Yeah,
he's a football guy. I mean,
yeah.
Nate Oates, college football player. I mean,
that's what we're going to say. Yeah,
he's been a Saban guy before he ever set foot in the state of Alabama. So that was not his choice. But back in the Anthony Grant years, Coach Grant was he didn't mind scheduling a game during the Iron Bowl or the SEC championship. And the tough, there were a couple of tough ones for me, but the toughest one was it was the SEC championship game, and you guys would remember which one. It was Alabama, Georgia, at the old Georgia Dome, and it was it 2012?
Yeah, the one with the classic game. Yeah, that went down to the very, very last 30 seconds or so.
Yeah, so we were at Cincinnati.
Oh, Lord.
Lost a tough game to the Bearcats. I was on my phone, iPad, whatever, watching the game. we got to the airport, and I'm like, okay. I mean, it's late fourth quarter. Game very much hanging in the balance. Georgia's driving, and I'm thinking, are we really about to take off? And yes, we took off, and I'm sitting there trying to hold my phone, to where a tower might be to get a signal. I can't. I don't know what's going on. We have an hour flight, and I'm dying. And refreshing my phone as we're landing in Tuscaloosa to find out that the tide rolled. But I mean, that hour or whatever, hour 10 in the air seemed like 2 days to me. and anyway, so a lot of experience in that. Unfortunately, this one was not the plan. But hey, 2-0 on Saturday. It was a great day to be an Alabama fan, for sure.
Take us through that Ohio State game. I mean, it was a high-level basketball game. Unfortunately, as you mentioned, Alabama comes up on the short end. But a lot to learn from, a lot to build on for Alabama coming out of that game.
Yeah, it was a disappointing game. I mean, Alabama, I think, is a better team, did not play particularly well. Ohio State was terrific. I mean, Alabama didn't guard them, didn't shoot the ball well, had some opportunities to win that game. But Ohio State played great. I mean, they shot the ball well. They were flawless. I mean, there weren't many teams that on that night that Ohio State wasn't going to beat. They're not a top 25 team. If they play like that, they're a top 5 team. They played unbelievable, shot it great. And that's the nature of college basketball. I mean, you get two really, really good hot guards and Bruce Thornton and Roddy Gale Jr. Alabama coming into the game was the number 1 3-point percentage team in the country and didn't shoot it well. Got some great looks from their best shooters. Just they didn't fall. That's just how it goes sometimes. And Ohio State, when they got good looks or even average to bad looks, they were going down. I think at one point they were 5 for 5 from 3 in the second half. They shot well over 90% from the free throw line. They guarded well. They looked great. And I was disappointed in the game, but love to see this team bounce back in a big way against a really good Oregon team. So, you didn't want to go 1-1. I thought Alabama still they were the best team down in Destin, but unfortunately 1-1 and a chance to get a big win tonight. But Alabama's going to play the either the best schedule in the country, the toughest schedule in the country year in and year out, or close to it, and that was the case in Destin. It'll be the case tonight in Tuscaloosa.
Well, what are the concerns coming out of the two games in the Emerald Coast Classic? I would have to believe it'd be on the defensive end of the court and rim protection. Is that the biggest question mark heading into this matchup with Clemson, Brian?
Yeah, I mean it's not complicated, but it's still something that may take a little time to get better at, and that's the defensive end. I believe Alabama is still the number 1 offensive team in the country from an efficiency standpoint. Mm-hmm. They are so good offensively. And I don't think it's necessarily a want-to issue on the defensive end. I just think when you look back at the championship teams over the last 3 years, the Herb Jones-led team, and then last year's team, those teams were top 3 defensive teams in the country. And you look individually, and you just had better and more good individual defenders than this team. You had Herb Jones, who is one of the best defensive players on the planet, not just in college basketball. Now he's one of the best defensive players in the NBA. Last year's team, obviously Brandon Miller, Noah Clowney, the talent on that team kind of took the headlines. But, oh, by the way, Brandon Miller could guard. Noah Clowney was not quite Herb Jones, but kind of close. Charles Bediako one of the top rim protectors in the country. And this team, I think, will get better as the year goes on defensively. You don't have the rim protection, but I think they have the potential to get better in that area. The coaches have challenged Nick Pringle. Mo Wagee, I think, can do that. He was injured all last year at West Virginia, had off-season foot surgery. I think he'll get better and better. Grant Nelson had 3 or 4 blocks in the game against Oregon. At 6'11", he can be that. And I think the guards have to get better at containing dribble penetration, keeping the opponent's perimeter players out of the lane, I think is important. But this team is so talented. I think they have a mental toughness to them, so I think they're going to get better on the defensive end. But just individually, I don't know that they have as good an individual defenders as this program has had in its 2 championship teams. But then, can you overcome that? I believe absolutely, because this is probably the best offensive team that Nate Oates has had, and I think the numbers will bear that out over the course of the season. May not look like it tonight against a really good Clemson team with the way they slow you down and grind it. It may not be a thing of beauty. Hopefully I'm wrong on that. But this team, I believe, will get better on the defensive end. And when they do, look out. This could be a special season, but there may be some bumps in the road as they try to get to that point.
Have you ever seen a team offensively be able to have its bigs? Grant Nelson, 6'11", other 6'10" guys almost play point and bring the ball up the floor like Alabama can?
No, and it's awesome, and I love it, and it's not an accident. I mean,
yeah.
Nate Oates is one of the best recruiters in the country. He's proven that. But also, he's pretty specific about exactly what he wants and how guys will fit in. And, it's interesting when you talk to him and, the rankings, I think the rankings are good. And, when you get a top 50 player, top 100 players, I think that matters. I mean, those are really good players, but they have their own rankings. And you hear them, the coaches talk about, this particular player we signed is the number 1 player in his position in the class for what we do. They may not be the number 1 ranked player in the country overall, but for how Alabama plays, they're the number 1 player in the country, and that's how they recruit. And so to have a guy like Grant Nelson, we've seen Jaron Stevenson, the guards for Alabama do a really good job rebounding, and it's one reason why this offense is so good is because when they get a rebound, they've got guys that don't need to wait on a guard to break free open. I mean, it's get it and go. And he wants to be the fastest team in the country, and they've been pretty much close to that here the first handful of games.
And it's been, speaking though of individual guys improving defensively, I thought watching his, him play a year ago, he had to get stronger and he had to understand to play hard all the time. But Rylan Griffin, I think, has improved a lot on the defensive end, Brian.
He really has, and it's a great example of how you can become a great defender. And if you watch film and work at it and take coaching and put an emphasis on it from a mental standpoint, to see the transformation of Rylan Griffin on the defensive end from a year ago to today is amazing. And I think it's something that the other guys that are trying to do the same thing, I think it will resonate with them, because Rylan is becoming a defensive stopper. If you would have told me that last year at this time, I wouldn't have believed you. But he has been so good on the defensive end. Great to see his offense come around. He had 17 against Oregon. And he's a guy that, it's amazing. Alabama's been so good offensively with basically Rylan Griffin not playing up to what he's capable of on that end of the floor. But he did it on both ends against Oregon. 17 offensively, great job defensively as he has all year long. And that's a scary thing for opponents, that now Rylan Griffin is kind of hitting his stride on the offensive end.
And what are the keys tonight? You kind of mentioned Brad Brownell and Clemson, and they want to play at a slower pace at the tempo. He's been there a long time. Talk about this matchup and what's going to be the keys for Alabama.
I think Clemson, and I'm not just saying that because we're saying this because we're playing them tonight. as I prepared for the season and just read through some of the conferences, rankings and that sort of thing, Clemson's one of the most underrated teams in the country. I mean, if their name was North Carolina and not Clemson, they would definitely be in the top 25 right now. I think they won 14 games in the ACC last year, which was a school record. They returned the majority of that team. They had a really good transfer class. Joe Girard was one of the best players in the ACC at Syracuse. Now he's at Clemson. P.J. Hall is the best post scorer in the ACC. They're really good, and you know what you're going to get out of Brad Brownell's teams on the defensive end. They're really tough. They rebound. They're going to grind it. It's going to be hard. They're a hard team to play against. So tonight's a big game. This is a Clemson team that I think will end up competing for an ACC championship. They're picked third or fourth in the ACC. They just don't get the headlines. And I remember when the pairings came out for the SEC ACC challenge, and some Alabama fans were disappointed that it wasn't a Duke or North Carolina or some of the more high profile schools in the conference. But Clemson is picked to be one of the best teams in the ACC. So it's a big game tonight for the SEC, for Alabama, and especially when you look at what's ahead away from Coleman Coliseum. The gauntlet in the non-conference is coming up. But really, I think it starts tonight against a tough and good and underrated Clemson team.
No question. We're going to enjoy the call. Brian Passett, Chris Stewart on the call tonight on the Crimson Tide Sports Network here on 97.7 The Zone. Thank you, Brian, for the time, and have a great call tonight. Hopefully we're going to have a big Alabama win. Appreciate it, man. We always enjoy talking Tide hoops with you.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Appreciate y'all having me.
All right, thanks, Brian. Brian Passett, Crimson Tide Sports Network. He'll be there courtside tonight, Alabama.
Like
Clemson.
you and Steve last night. Big win. First time since 2018.
It was a big win, and they almost
84-75.
let it get away.
I know it got a little hairy there.
Yeah.
A couple of onions plays by my guy Tommy Murr.
Oh, my goodness. Woo! Stepped up big. A lot of guys stepped up big last night. All right, let's get a break in. Tomorrow's headlines wrapping us up.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
They moved that wreck on the parkway near Clinton over to the right side of the road. It does not appear to be affecting traffic that much. Got one in Elkmont, Sandlin Road and Vaughn Street. That one is snagging up traffic quite a bit. Maybe an injury there. Pulaski, Pike, and Grimwood had an injury involved. Still may be working to clear it. Expert heart care backed by advanced technology. When you need cardiac care, you need the heart doctor. Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialist on Bob Wallace Avenue. Captain Nick in the 72 and Jeff Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penny Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penny perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penny Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penny Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPennyToyota.com. Bill Penny's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
Tom Abraham here for my friends at North Alabama Mortgage. Are you thinking about home improvements? Well, use your equity now and refi later. Or use your equity to eliminate consumer debt forever, then refi to a lower rate and shorter term when rates drop. North Alabama Mortgage can also help you if you're thinking about buying an investment property or a second home at the lake or the beach or in the mountains. We have great programs to make that happen. Visit NorthAlabamaMortgage.com to learn more. That's NorthAlabamaMortgage.com.
It's time for tomorrow's headlines today with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
All right, welcome back. Talking about 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Oh, boy. 8:53 on a Tuesday. And you know it's coming because we got to get we will get John Schulman on here in the next few weeks because Now that football season is.
Hey, that was a
on
very
the down.
important conference game in late November last night.
It was. Only 2 games into the conference season. You don't want to drop that one because Auburn-Montgomery is not a good team, and that's one that you don't want to drop.
But
it
was just a place. It was a tough place to play for UAH.
It is. It is a house of horrors. All right. Let's go out to the phone lines. Wolverine Dan with us. No? Oh, he did drop. Well, then he's not with us.
Yeah.
All right. Short time left here then to go over all this other stuff that we have. The Heisman straw poll is out from The Athletic.
Yeah.
Bo Nix has taken over the lead in the Heisman straw poll.
It's just going to come down to how big a game he has on Friday night. If he has a huge game and Oregon's very impressive, I think he's going to be tough to beat out. I still think Jaden Daniels is near the top. Like I said, he would be no lower than second for me heading into the week this weekend. And Bo Nix may have something to say about it. Also, certainly, or if it goes the opposite way, and Penix has a big game. So
they're tied for second. Daniels and Penix are tied for second in the straw poll.
To me, that's the 3 guys.
And
by
the way, the window is open for voting. It opened yesterday morning. And it was so funny because a couple Heisman voters went on social media and said, if you vote now, you're an idiot.
Yeah, you need to wait. I mean, David Ubben of The Athletic, he said that you've got to wait until through the weekend, to me, to get a better feel for it. But I will say this, another announcement tonight. It's going to be a huge ball game, high school-wise. We're not just going to have Alabama basketball because we are on our network, but there's going to be a huge high school game tonight. The Buckhorn Bucks, defending 6A state champions, they are traveling to Huntsville High. They beat Huntsville High last year over at Buckhorn, went on to win the state championship. That's going to be a huge game. I would say get there early, big crowd. Huntsville High coming off of the N2 Hoops championship. They also played well in Corinth, Mississippi on Saturday. When I had my phone on airplane mode because I was trying to do a ball game like you guys were last night. And that Buckhorn-Huntsville game is going to be a huge one tonight.
Yeah. Dane Harding had a big game last night.
Yeah, he made some big free throws down the stretch too.
He did.
Yeah.
Coming off his broken nose.
And we saw at the N2 Hoops, we saw Dylan Harding, we saw Dr. Max Schulman. He was there too. Both of them recruiting for the Chargers. So recruiting
I'm not used
going
to
well.
saying Coach Schulman twice.
Well, no, I call him Dr. Max Schulman. I did shake his hand, so I think he's basically a doctor at this point in time.
All right, we're done. It's breakfast time.
He did talk on defense, though.
Gotta talk. You gotta talk on defense.
You gotta talk on defense. Huntsville and Buckhorn, you gotta talk tonight, guys.
Hi, folks. Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford's Thanksgiving sales event. This is the time of year to give thanks for all the